I mean, that's one of the things you saw in the late 1960s. White women started to court Black women, Chicano women, Native American women. They, especially by the time you get to second wave feminism, they were really trying to transition this feminism from a middle class white woman thing to a universal sisterhood thing. But it's a universal sister, and I'm not telling you nothing you don't know. It's a universal sisterhood as long as you follow white women's precepts. As long as you know, if you're Black, you're brown, whatever it is, as long as you follow what white women want, you're a part of the sisterhood. If you don't, you're ignored. And you know, within the Black community, you're pick me or whatever it is.
Yeah,
as long as you follow the narrative, that's the feminist leaning. And white women offered baubles. They offered, you know, gifts. If you follow us, there are white collar jobs this way. There's welfare support this way. There's policy that positions you underneath us as white women, but you will get some benefits that you won't get messing around with him, your Black male. Those kinds of seductive tactics were used, and I think they became part and parcel to Black women's whole worldview about politics. I mean, going back to what I said earlier about the safety net, Black women learned there was a whole new safety net under white feminism, at least in terms of policy. You didn't have to be running out in the street declaring yourself a feminist, because a lot of Black women didn't, but they still learned the talking points, you know, primarily through, you know, ciphers like Oprah Winfrey, where she kind of helped Black women transition into this white feminism with a Black face by kind of pulling from obscure Black feminists and at the same time interacting with middle class and upper class white feminists. Oprah became the focal point where Black women could be initiated kind of into a rhetorical feminism during the 1980s and onward that did not have to be white women burning bras like you saw in the past. It kind of had this air of an aristocratic, you know, kind of middle class aspiring woman who was of the world. She was intelligent. She was this, that kind of air helped transition a lot of Black women into a feminism that they didn't even have to understand to participate with. And as much as they began to internalize those values, it created a larger and larger rift with Black men. Black men became more and more viewed as irrational and domineering, because the standards that were used to determine what a good man was were being more and more influenced by this kind of white feminism that was veiled in blackface. And so as that you know, that rift began to open up larger and larger, Black men slowly began to understand that this was not something that you could just pull her back from. I mean, she had benefits. She's getting degrees. She's working white collar jobs, and you know, with that opportunity. And the funny thing about it is, white women still would get married. See, that's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
And get married, but tell you that they're inspired by Black women who can be independent and strong. So, you know, Black men started, I think in the last few decades, really began to realize that, you know, against this independent movement, you know, the choice has kind of been made, and it wasn't made by Black men. Black men are only now starting to recognize that, you know, that there's not much I can do about this choice she's made. Individual men may be able to do certain things, but as a collective, these are the kind of decisions that have been made.
So very interesting.